Hello, Tyria. My name is Laranity, and I am here with an incredibly exciting live stream. Today, I am joined by some of the awesome developers from 2 Weeks and ArenaNet. From 2 Weeks, we have gold Foge and Brandon, and from ArenaNet, we have gold Stephen. And today, I get to ask them everything about Guild Wars Reforged. I am so incredibly excited about this. In case you missed the announcement, Guild Wars Reforged is basically a modernization upgrade for the original Guild Wars game. It is not a remaster or a full remake, but instead it is sort of bringing all these improvements to the game to modernize the experience. And just 2 weeks from now, there are going to be some awesome features coming to the game, including visual upgrades, UI upgrades, controller support, Steam Deck verification, and it's all going to be free if you already own Guild Wars 1. And if you're a new player thinking of getting into Guild Wars 1 for the first time, there's going to be a new low bundled price for Prophecies, Factions, and Nightfall. I still got my boxes, but today we will talk all about this, and we will, I'm so excited. I got some of the developers who have worked on this, and I will get to ask them all kinds of stuff. Oh no, our camera just fell over. I am so excited though. Thank you so much for joining me. I would absolutely love if you all would introduce yourselves to the viewers. I'm guessing that not everybody has heard of 2 weeks before, but my understanding is that you all go way back with Guild Wars 1, right? Maybe you can start off, Brandon, by introducing yourself.
Yeah, hey everybody. I'm Brandon Dillon. I'm the CEO and co-founder at 2 Weeks, along with my co-founder, Richard Foge. And we're a pretty recent gaming startup, but we are ArenaNet alumni. I actually got my first job in the industry was as an intern at ArenaNet when we were still working out of one of the founders' apartments. And so worked on Guild Wars from the very beginning, and it's very near and dear to my heart. I'm super happy that we got to partner with ArenaNet on building the Reforged update and working with you all.
Awesome. So yeah, you all have lots of history, right? What about you, Foge? You've also had a long history of this game, right?
That part I can fix. I can fix me not talking pretty easily. Now you can hear it. But YouTube is still off, and so I need to fix that.
Okay.
Why don't you jump to Stephen? Let me see what I can do about getting YouTube working.
We'll let you work in the background, and we'll talk about some stuff in the meanwhile. And of course, very well known to the Guild Wars 1 community. Also, Stephen, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for joining us today. You also you've been here since like almost the very beginning, right? In Guild Wars 1.
Not quite the beginning. 20 years. I just passed my 20 years anniversary here. So about as long as the game has been out. I actually started as a contractor implementing Jeremy's music in the game, and we don't talk about it much anymore. But there was this thing called Direct Song that was a clever idea where you could add in extra music, and so I would work at home on the website and how he was going to sell his music, and then I'd go into the ArenaNet office to do the integration where it would figure out how to use different music and stuff. That's how I met the founders. So that was actually, I was going into the office as a contractor who didn't even work for ArenaNet. And actually I had to go to the bathroom this one time. So one time at band camp, I had to go to the bathroom. I'm like, if I leave the office, I can't get back in because it's nighttime.
Oh no.
And one of the founders just came over and handed me a card and said, don't steal anything. Like, okay, that was it. So, yeah,
and again, I guess most Guild Wars 1 players know you as the person that has been pretty actively maintaining Guild Wars 1 for the past couple of years, right?
Yeah, so I think around 2011, when we were starting work on the new login system that both games use, we decided to launch it first with Guild Wars to make sure it worked before Guild Wars 2 came out. And so that's when I first kind of got back into Guild Wars, and then a whole bunch of time went by, and then we decided to move the game into Amazon. And so our whole team, it was a big team, and we had 3 people from AWS would come visit us a couple times a week to move Guild Wars 2 while it was running with zero downtime from our data centers to AWS. And so I said, well, I'll do the Guild Wars 1 part. I know how that works. That'll be fun. I can't do it with no downtime because the database worked differently. I said, well, I thought it would take an hour of downtime. So I said 2 hours. And about 2 hours and 1 minute in, I was sweating bullets because there's one little thing missing for the database. So someone bailed me out. So it was 2 hours and 5 minutes. But that's when I kind of got back into it. And then we had the data center explode. You can go find a story about that online. The one in Frankfurt exploded and took out a whole bunch of equipment. So I moved all the players to the US, which we can do, which is an amazing and wonderful thing, again, without downtime. But then I thought, I wonder if this works, because this is a latency-friendly game. This will be wonderful. And I, VPN over to Frankfurt, try it out, everything's good. But how do I talk to players? So I go to Reddit. Am I allowed to talk to players? And they're like, please. Please.
So it all happened pretty organically.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's safe to say you all have a lot of history with Guild Wars 1, right? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Laranity. I'm a Guild Wars 2 content creator. I also go back quite far with this game. I've been playing since like Factions. Most people know me from Guild Wars 2, but I also have a large passion for the original game. And I'm so excited that this is now happening. Guild Wars Reforged. I would love to just start off by asking how this project came about. Again, Guild Wars 1 has been not getting a lot of major upgrades like this for a really long time now. What made you all suddenly get together and start working on Guild Wars 1 again after all these years?
Well, we have a programmer here, Joe, who had done the 10th and the 15th and the 20th anniversary weapon upgrades. And together we talked about all the things we could dig up that were in the game that we could reuse for the 20th anniversary. He came up with a very clever system. And the reaction to the 20th anniversary was really amazing. We were just stunned at the number of people. And so coincidentally, Brandon can talk about how he contacted us, but it was almost a coincidence with that period of time. And so since we had seen the response to the 20th anniversary, we thought, let's talk.
Awesome. Can you talk about that a little bit, Brandon, about how this happens?
Yeah, for sure. Part of it was that we were getting really excited about the 20th anniversary ourselves, and something that Foge and I care a lot about. We started our company specifically with the goal of making games and helping them reach very large audiences, and that actually started with experimental web prototypes. And we quickly found that when you release an experimental prototype on the web, you get people from everywhere. You get people on high-end gaming PCs, you get people on low-end Chromebook laptops, you get people on phones, you get people on TVs, you get people on smart refrigerators. They just come from everywhere. And so a thing we had to get good at really quickly was figuring out how to support all kinds of different display form factors, inputs, that kind of thing. And then, the Guild Wars 20th anniversary was coming up, and we got really excited about hey, it's a huge undertaking to do a thing like take an online RPG that was built for mouse and keyboard and figure out how to make it work on controllers. But we thought we had an angle on it, and so we reached out, and it was in the same timeline that there was a bunch of people coming back to the game, either returning players or new players checking it out for the first time. And the game was in pretty good shape 20 years in, but there were a lot of aspects of modern computers that we just didn't account for when we built it originally, right? So high DPI displays and fast refresh rates and new input methods and all that kind of stuff. And so it felt like a right time to basically come in and see if we could modernize, upgrade, tighten up the experience, and make it a great thing for returning players to come back to, and for new players to be able to check it out on modern devices.
It kind of sounds like you all were the perfect team for this then, right? Guild Wars 1 experience, also experience with scaling and making sure everything works well on lots of modern PCs and stuff like that. I guess I'd love to just talk a little bit about Reforged, right? Can you give me a high-level overview of what Reforged is exactly? Again, it's all about modernization, right?
Yeah, it's really focused on kind of a comprehensive update to the game client, and so it's the original Guild Wars. It is not a remake. It is not a remaster. But it is a case where we went through and we looked at quality of life requests that people have had and issues that people had running it on modern machines, addressing all of that stuff and making it a great experience, and then giving a lot of special attention to the experience on Steam as well. Guild Wars has been on Steam for a while, but used a bunch of, at this point, relatively archaic mechanisms. You could buy it and then in a right-click menu in your library, get the CD keys that you could paste into the account creation dialogues and that kind of stuff, and it's just not integrated with any of those things. And the community had actually done a bunch of work to add custom controller configurations and stuff to try to get it playable on Steam Deck. So we knew there was appetite for that as well, but we wanted to go in and actually sort of take all these things that people were kind of cobbling together solutions for and build them officially into the experience and make it a really solid experience.
Right. I love to just like talk about that a little bit because we can see Foge playing Guild Wars 1 with a controller right now, navigating the menus. So again, this is not like in the past there would be these sort of profiles people would make, right? Where they would take, I guess, like their controller buttons and sort of map it to PC buttons. But this is like integrated native support in the game now, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So you're like.
Yeah, having it context sensitive makes all the difference. So it knows when you're talking to a henchie, and it knows what you're running around within the game, and it can target things for you. And it just actually feels very fluid. And you can do couch play, which, sort of wasn't the original idea. It was just, but then we looked at how people were playing on big screens, and we looked at all the controller stuff we could do on the Steam Deck, and we said, well, we could do this with an XInput controller, especially it's easier to develop because it's just hooked to your PC. So it just emerged that couch play just works really well and is really smooth.
Right, because again, one of the things about Guild Wars Reforged is that it is Steam Deck verifies, right? Like it should play beautifully on the Steam Deck. So I guess again, the idea here is that it will scale beautifully from, I guess, like your Steam Deck handheld, but also to the big screen. That's pretty good timing as well with the Steam machine that's coming, right?
Yeah, that's exciting.
I love to play my Steam Deck in a dock on my TV as well. So I'm excited to just like sit down at my TV and play some Guild Wars 1. And I guess that goes kind of hand in hand with the UI improvements, right? So like, again, you've mentioned this before, but there's going to be support for high DPI displays now. If you're playing on 4K, it should now all scale properly and not be super small and hard to read, right?
Yeah, that was one of the things that was, really apparent when we had a bunch of new people coming into the game, is they were playing on these, modern PC monitors with super high resolutions, and the game, was built back when like 1024 by 768 was kind of what we optimized for, and so you were getting sort of postage stamp version of the UI in the game experience. So we wanted to, I think I muted myself. Address these issues and support. Properly detecting what kind of display you're running on and scaling the UI appropriately as well. But then also sort of making the fit and finish of that really nice too. So we introduced a bunch of new font sizes into the game, which you can use independently if you want, but it'll snap to like the best resolution font size for the DPI scale that you're at. So like the UI and text will remain really crisp while you're playing. And actually it extended to like the graphical features as well. Like we're doing really modest enhancements of the rendering capabilities, but they're really focused on making sure that stuff scales for high resolution displays. So like, for example, bloom is a thing that, has been an important part of the Guild Wars aesthetic all the way back to the original game, but it's actually screen resolution dependent, and so it didn't work correctly on large monitors. You would wind up over bright in the bright areas and with none of the kind of like halo effects in the outlying areas at high resolutions. And so like we have this new implementation of the bloom system that's more accurate to like the effect when it shipped originally on whatever resolution you're running at it. So we've been really focused on kind of little tweaks like that make it, it's an enhanced experience, but it's really meant to evoke the experience you remember playing when you played it 20 years ago. Right.
So again, we are not just talking, I guess, like UI improvements, but also some visual improvements. So like you just mentioned the bloom. I also think there's now going to be ambient occlusion coming into the game for the first time.
Yeah, that one is one that we wanted to put in there. Actually, one of my main motivations was, as Stephen mentioned, when I worked early in the game, I did a lot of the map editing tools and level design tools for the art team, and the thing that they were always struggling with was like making things feel grounded in the world, and right. So much of that is like the kind of self-shadowing that you get when an object is next to another one in the real world. So we've tuned the effect to be really subtle, but it's almost a little sort of like hat tip to the artists that worked on the original game, that we can put a little bit of ambient occlusion in there dynamically, and I think it looks particularly nice when you're kind of zoomed in on a character and you can see the soft shadowing on the like armor pieces interacting with each other. It's not meant to change the aesthetic of the game in a substantial way, but just a nice subtle improvement.
Right, so it's very much still the Guild Wars we know and love, but with, I guess, like subtle improvements to make it look better and make it all run beautifully on modern resolutions on both the Steam Deck and also for couch play, if you're interested in that. I'm really excited about that stuff. Something else that I think you all are doing is more high resolution skill icons, right? I remember when I revisited Guild Wars 1 earlier this year, the skill icons are beautiful in Guild Wars 1, but they were all pretty pixelated. But y'all went to hunt those down and upgrade those too, is my understanding, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's another one where the community had done some fun mod work because we had released like a sort of card game style spin-off thing at one point that had higher resolution skills from the source art, and people had cropped all of those out and then made mods where they could inject those into the game. So we basically just wanted to do that properly, and so when we dug up all of the original source assets so that we could re-export them, so they're not the little 48 by 48 pixel icons that worked at small resolutions, with their little higher resolution, so they look good at those. It's another one of these ones where it's making it work right on modern displays. Speaking of
making it work right, I'm going to interrupt y'all real quick because I'm going to be doing some live retooling of what the stream's going on, because the way we have it set up right now, the game's running super smooth on my machine, but it's showing up on Twitch really laggy. Also still not on YouTube because yeah, no, it's not great. But I'm gonna try to fix this up really quick so that the gameplay stream is looking a little bit better. And I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get YouTube working, but I'll keep messing with that too.
Sounds good. I think you can just in your OBS add like a game capture, and then at least the people on the official Guild Wars stream should be able to see it all properly. The people on my stream, I guess, if you want to see the proper high res, nice smooth Guild Wars gameplay, again, like you're currently seeing, it's kind of lagging out a little bit. That is like the call software we are using. The game itself is running absolutely beautiful. And in fact, I think we were just talking about that before the stream started, right? People now running like Guild Wars at like really high frame rates and stuff like that. Again, the game was never really designed for that, but that should also work decently better, I think, right?
Yeah, people were running the game at 400 frames a second, which was a bit of a surprise. And so that would cause some desyncs and their characters would pop around. So what I did for the 20th or around that time frame was cap the frame rate at 90. So it was more in sync with the servers. But Bill Fries, who a lot of people know, has been digging into the actual arithmetic of how the server and the client calculate where everything is, and he thinks he found a couple of math errors that were accumulating the faster you ran the game. So what did you say? He's tried it at 240 and it looks good.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that change because you made a bunch of improvements recently that addressed a bunch of sort of server lag and latency issues, and it almost kind of like unmasked like little precision errors that we had in the client code that weren't really observable at regular frame rates. But now, if you're on a super fancy gaming monitor, that stuff becomes more apparent. So it's gonna. That's another one of these just holistically quality of life things, makes it a much better experience.
Right, so that's kind of all what Reforged is all about, right? Making sure that original Guild Wars experience is like properly playable on modern machines and smooth and all that stuff. There are also some quality of life features, I think. Like I've heard about this sort of quest tracker UI that's coming in. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, actually a lot of the kind of more player-facing changes to UI and things like that were direct results of kind of playtesting and us kind of living in the build, particularly on the Steam Deck. And I think a lot of classic Guild Wars players are familiar with the experience of needing to kind of keep your quest log up all the time while you're playing to kind of see what you're up to and what's next. And so we took a pass to just basically kind of take that key information and find a place for it on the HUD so that you have access to that information as you're playing, which is really great on a small screen where you don't have to, sort of occlude most of it with quest log information just so you can understand what you're supposed to be doing at the moment. So.
Right. If you're playing on like a Steam Deck, for example, having the quest log open all the time would be a little bit awkward. Right. I'm just so happy that people are working on Guild Wars 1 again. Right, like after all these years, like seeing like some of these bugs, some of the Guild Wars 1 community has been dealing with some of these things for like a decade, right? So it's really cool to see all of you going in there and like upgrading the game like this. And it's still such a special game, right? I think Guilds 1 and Guilds 2 share a lot of DNA, but the games are pretty different. I really feel like there's nothing out there that's like Guild Wars 1. And I know a lot of players are very excited to return to it. Speaking of that, it's all going to be free to anyone that already owns the game, right? Will my bulks I bought in 2006 also get me into Reforged?
Yeah, if you've got any of the chapters, you'll get the. So if you have one chapter, you'll get the other two. If you have two, you'll get the third one, just for free.
So like, let's say I've got Prophecies, then I'm getting Factions and Nightfall as well?
Yep. Next time you log in, well, after December 3rd, you should just have 2 more campaigns.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what about like new players? There's also a new package, right? Which also, I believe, includes the free campaigns, Nightfall, Factions, Prophecies.
Yeah, and so that'll be $20, and then we're rebranding sort of the expansion as DLC. So we'll have 2 DLC offerings. One is Eye of the North, which is large, and the bonus mission pack, which is cool but smaller. And by kind of branding it as DLC, it gives us the opportunity in the future, should that a moment ever arise, to price whatever new content we might make someday, if that were to happen.
Right, no confirmation on that. Just like it will be possible, maybe. Right?
But let's make it as easy to do as possible.
Rather
than put roadblocks on our way. And it is so hard to sell a game that's had a 20-year lifetime, where you naturally want to repackage it and do all these bundles, and we're just going to stop doing that because it's just too complicated. And we have third-party keys, and even if, and hopefully when we get it integrated with the Steam store and it's much easier, we still have third-party keys. We still have our first-party keys. We have keys floating around the world that we have to track. It's just a nightmare to track all that stuff. We just want to simplify as much as possible. Here's what you're getting. It's easy to understand. So again,
not confirming anything, but like it's making it as easy as possible. I guess like if y'all ever decide you want to do something like that's an exciting thought.
I the community's always asking me, and I told them the tools had been sort of resting, for lack of a better term, and like when I changed the login music, that was a huge event for me. Like, wow, I got the sound editing thing to work, and I got the scriptware thing to work, and that's just a small part of the number of tools we have. And one amazing thing is that Brandon worked on the map editor, and so and we did a bunch of spelunking at work to find documentation on how you used to do this stuff. So we're trying to understand the scope of what it would take to actually do something. We're not promising we're going to do something, but we're trying to figure it out.
It's just exciting that all of you are back in there, right? There are developers doing stuff on Guild Wars 1, and just. Oh, so again, I guess one question people have in the blog post, it very much sounds as if this update that's coming 2 weeks from now is the beginning of Reforged. Are you all planning to do more of these improvements in the future?
Well, absolutely. The scope, is to be seen, but we have a bunch of things we want to do to the game. There's another system Brandon wrote when he was a wee lad, which was the logging system. And he had to make it back in the day so it would run on little tiny computers. And so we could only do 2 weeks of logs. And so one of the things I did a year ago was upgrade it so we could look at all our logs. And then Brandon came back and goes, I want to do some logging. I'm like, hey, look at this. You can look at lots of logs really fast. And so he did a deep dive to see where people are, basically deciding not to play anymore, which is always an interesting question. One I'm surprised we didn't really have an answer to until now. And so, we're like, well, okay, those are places we might be able to make improvements if the tools work. So
awesome. So again, I guess with Guild Wars Reforged, we're getting this update 2 weeks from now, bringing all kinds of improvements. But behind the scenes, all of you all of you are making it so you can do stuff on Guild Wars 1 again, right? So you can do these improvements, make sure these tools are up and running. And again, we don't know if that's going to lead to what exactly, but the tools are getting back in there. Is my understanding.
Because you did your live stream, which was awesome, revisiting Prophecies.
Yeah.
And we had the Sorrow's Furnace anniversary. I thought, well, I don't know if that's worth a big deal, but I just wanted to go in there and as a fun thing, find, a character, an NPC, and have them just stand there and go, wow, 20 years, that's a long time, or whatever. And it couldn't do it, right? That should be super easy to do, and that's what we're trying to get to.
Right. Getting the tools back up and running. Right. So I guess this is a question that's on lots of people's minds, right? But of course, with all these improvements, modernizing the game, I think a lot of people are thinking like, again, I understand you cannot confirm anything right now, but again, if all of this goes well, is new content something you would ever think about? Again, you don't have to confirm anything, but is it something that's in the back of your mind? Like, oh, that would be cool to do one day. I don't know, maybe new skills, rewards, quests, or something like that. Is it something that's, again, you don't have to confirm one way or the other, but is it something you're vaguely thinking about, maybe?
We think about it all the time because it comes up all the time, both with players and internally, and what's the best way to map the future of Guild Wars. And yeah, we can't promise anything because there's so many unknowns right now. So, I know I'm being cute and vague, and that sucks, but that's actually reflecting the reality of the situation we're in. So all I can tell you is that we're very interested in it, and we're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and I think we're all just excited to play Guild Wars 1 again, right? There's a huge amount of content here. Many players haven't played it in such a long time, and now with all these improvements, like making it possible to play on your Steam Deck and on the couch and on modern resolutions and stuff like that, I'm excited. So again, just to be clear to everybody, this is not a full remake of Guild Wars 1. It's a modernization upgrade to the existing game. So I think this kind of goes without saying, but that means that all of our progress will carry over into this, right? Like it's an upgrade to the existing game.
Yes. We want everyone to play together. I've seen some comments on Reddit, hey, are you going to do fresh servers? And we wouldn't do that because we don't want to dilute our player base. We want everyone playing together, having a good time together. The more players that are in the game together, the more fun it is. Everyone's going to play together. And not everyone knows. You can play kind of anywhere in the world. So we have data centers in Virginia and Frankfurt, but I also have one in Seoul now, which has really helped the people in Australia. They have a shorter ping. And it's a drop down up in the corner of the screen to play there. And if you want to join your friend in Korea and play with them there, it's a drop down, and in about a second you're there playing together. And is there another game you can do that in? I know people are kind of going the opposite direction, where they have a lot of local data centers to group people together geographically for ping and whatnot. But our game is actually very latency friendly now. And you can play with people, in the other data center. I do it, and then I forget that I'm doing it there. I'm like, where's my friend that I thought I should see here? Oh, I'm in Europe, and they're not.
It's totally the same for me. I recently, early this year, came back for the 20th anniversary, and we did a large playthrough with a lot of people. And we played on the American districts. But I'm from Europe, right? So I could just go into this drop-down and play with everyone else. It's such a nice feature of the game. For everybody who isn't familiar with Guild Wars 1, I just highly recommend you all give it a shot. It's just such a special game. And again, there's some of the DNA from Guild Wars 2 in there. You can tell that there's similarities between the games, but they're so different. And it's just such a unique experience. And in my opinion, it holds up so well. And I'm just so excited to see players all playing the game again and see people supporting it again. It's so exciting. Speaking of that, there is one particular question I really want to ask, because my understanding is that there's actually a little bit of news about this. For the Guild Wars 2 players, there's a system known as the Hall of Monuments if you own the Eye of the North expansion, where you can achieve things in Guild Wars 1 and then get rewards in Guild Wars 2. Players who play Guild Wars 2 on Steam have not ever been able to link to a Guild Wars 1 account. So they've never been able to get their Hall of Monuments rewards on Guild Wars 2 Steam. But my understanding is that now, once Reforged comes out in 2 weeks, players will be able to make a Steam Guild Wars 1 account and then also get Hall of Monuments rewards through a Steam Guild Wars 1 account. Am I getting that mostly right?
That is mostly right. It's so confusing because you can buy the game on Steam right now, but the way it is now, it's just like you bought it off Amazon or any third-party site. You just get a key, and we're integrating it, so you'll be running off on your actual Steam account. And you can tell that that's the way it is. Like in Guild Wars 2, you push play and you just jump into the game. You don't have to log in. And it's that way now on our test systems for Guild Wars 1. And if you're on the same Steam account, then all the monuments will be linked. And you'll be able to carry over your rewards from your Guild Wars 1 play to your Guild Wars 2 play.
Awesome. So again, first time that Guild Wars 2 Steam players will be able to get Hall of Monuments rewards.
Right.
Well, as soon as this goes live.
Right.
So again, for anyone that's there's some confusion about this. If you own Guild Wars 1 on Steam right now, you're effectively on an ArenaNet account. But a new feature that's coming is that there will be Steam Guild Wars 1 accounts once Reforged hits in 2 weeks, is my understanding.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much for clarifying. I guess that there's a lot of things that I'd love to ask you all, just about all of this, and also maybe I can take some questions from the chat. First of all, I'm just curious, like, this game is quite old now, right? Were there a lot of challenges getting all the development back up and running? We've already talked about this a little bit, I suppose, but what did it feel like going back into this old code base? Was it like a lot of adjustments, or were you getting back up and running really fast? What was that like?
I mean, from my point of view, having just taken care of it for a long time, one reason I wanted to, a lot of reasons, it's a great game, but it's so well engineered and it's so efficient. You know, like how many games run at 400 frames a second, right? And the overall server costs for us are relatively low compared to any other game. So it's just super efficient, super well laid out. And then those Brandon and the other programmers at 2 weeks were already familiar with our coding standards and a lot of the idioms. We have sort of idiomatic, does that make any sense? Idiomatic programming style that developed, and it's made our security, internal security really good. We hardly ever, knock on the machine, have exploits. And I don't want to challenge anyone to find them, but it's just super well engineered. And I don't know, what'd you think, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, it was a really nice surprise coming back to it, because I remember actually when we were first reaching out to ArenaNet, we had some prior knowledge of how it was built, and so I had a long list of things that I thought we were going to have to do, and like we were going through that list with Stephen. It's like, oh yeah, I did that 3 years ago. I did that 5 years ago. It's like, oh yeah, the build server, we're not using that custom build thing anymore. We have a traditional build, and so it's just like, oh, this is actually like we can be moving a lot further, a lot faster than we anticipated. It's a testament to ArenaNet. Always had a strong engineering culture, but like I think in particular, Stephen specifically deserves a lot of credit for just the ongoing maintenance and support and kind of care and feeding of the code base and the infrastructure. So we were able to really kind of get in there quickly and start landing some of these improvements. And it was really fun. Probably my biggest source of personal satisfaction, like getting to dig through the code and the assets and all that kind of stuff, was remembering all the great people that I got to work with, in the early days of development there, and seeing friends' names in the code and looking at the revision history and source control, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that when we were making this, and that was just really nostalgic and fun. And I think actually probably at least like more than half of the times that I would get like frustrated at some code not working the way that it should, I'd go through the history and find that I wrote it originally. So
also, Stephen, what was that like for you? Like, I think you've mostly been working on Guild Wars mostly by yourself for a while, right? What was it like now getting more developers working on the game again?
Right. So I wear two hats. I have the game director hat, which is, setting some strategy over long term. And then, I was doing the programming. And then these guys showed up, and there are a lot of them, and they're very fast, and I have to keep ahead of them. Like, wow, this is a challenge. So, but it's been just so great. They're just so into the game. And again, like, there's no argument over about, how you do things. Everyone's on board, and so we're all going the same direction. It's been really fun.
And again, you all know sort of the core philosophies of Guild Wars 1, right? Because you all go back with this game so far. This is not like, well, I've never seen this game before. You're all intimately familiar. I'm seeing some questions in the chat. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, we're not here to change the game that people love. Mm-hmm. That's not our goal. Our goal is to make it more accessible to more people.
Awesome. Yeah, upgrading it again, modernizing the experience. That's what Reforged is all about. And I gotta say, like, part of me is just, I think the part I'm the most excited about is that there's people like doing stuff on Guild Wars just in general. But I'm also just excited for all the hype, right? Like so many people are planning to play again. I've got lots of friends from who I used to play Guilds 1 with, and everybody's planning to like play again. I'm just excited to like get in there and play with everybody. And yeah, so thank you all so much for doing this. I'm really excited about all of it. I'm seeing some questions in the chat about there's a lot of Steam stuff, right? We're talking about Steam Deck verification and stuff. But all these upgrades are also coming to the standalone non-Steam version of the game, right? You'll still be able to use a controller on your PC playing on the regular ArenaNet account and stuff.
Yeah, that's essentially what I'm doing now. The only time I had to switch to keyboard was when I was doing text entry, right? Software keyboard doesn't come up on my PC, but it does when you're playing on Steam Deck. But yeah, this is me playing directly on my PC, my fancy controller.
Yeah, it's honestly
awesome.
Easier to build things that way, right? Like one of the things I really appreciated about Guild Wars is that it already was pretty considerate about, like, you can largely play the game entirely with a keyboard. You can largely play the game entirely with a mouse. Like, the UI is very customizable. Like, there's just a lot of tools that were in there for people to play it the way that they wanted to. Like, a feature I always really appreciated about the original Guild Wars way back 20 years ago was that it worked well in a window, which was not true for most PC games of that era. And so it was just like, the code base was already set up to be conscientious about a bunch of different configurations and that people might play it in. And just those configurations have multiplied in complexity as computers have evolved. And so, but there was just like those patterns that were in place of like, hey, the right way to add support for a controller is not to like go target one specific platform, but to do it in this kind of like open-ended way that unlocks the capability for more players. And so we always biased that way where we could. I think the only exceptions are things like, obviously, you'll only be able to do a Steam login through the Steam client, but for the most part, it's exactly the same build.
You must have had to dig quite deeply in there, right? Because again, this controller support we're talking about, like we just saw in the character creation, it's like deeply integrated into the game, right? Was that like a large? I imagine that must have been one of the larger things that must have taken quite some work to get working properly, right?
Yeah, I mean, there were obviously technical challenges, and the virtual cursor implementation that's in there is surprisingly good. It's got really great ability to kind of like, you can cruise around with the joystick, but it'll like smartly snap to things that you can actually interact with and all that kind of stuff as you're playing. It's a very intuitive system. Our principal engineer Jordan did an awesome job building that. But I would say like that was half of the challenge, and the other challenge was actually just the design, right? Like we went through a bunch of variations of like, okay, how do you target enemies? How do you target allies? How do you use a skill bar full of 8 skills? How do you interact with stuff in the world and make all that stuff fit onto a pretty narrow control cluster? If you pull up a keyboard map of like all of the hotkeys that are available to you on Guild Wars, it's basically every key on the keyboard, plus modifier keys that change the functionality of some of the keys and that kind of stuff. So coming up with a coherent system that worked well was definitely took a lot of iteration and a lot of playtesting. Yeah. That's always the primary tool, and we went back and forth on several designs to get it into the right place. But yeah, that was definitely for this update probably one of the largest chunks of work for our team. But we're really happy with where it's netted out, and I'm really happy about actually shipping it too and getting player feedback as well, because there's a ton of different builds. There's a ton of different ways to play the game. People have features that they're more or less dependent on depending on their style of play and how hardcore they are. And so I think we've done a really good job setting up a very playable experience, but I'm sure people are going to have feedback for us on stuff that's really important that they wish that they could do, and I'm really looking forward to getting that feedback.
Right.
Yeah, that's because the best part of making Guild Wars is the communication and the back and forth between the developers and the community. Or always has been for me. I really enjoy getting the feedback and a lot of thoughtful feedback that folks are able to generate, especially with 20 years of history with the game, that they know this game very, very well. And so getting that feedback and having it be a dialogue as we continue to work through features and other things is fantastic.
And we also put the controller in front of people who had never played before, because, right? And they pick it up really quickly.
I mean, it's such an elegant game, right? Like you got your 8 skills. I think it's very easy to pick up, even though it's an older game, right? Sometimes older games like this can be a bit archaic, but I think Guild Wars 1 gameplay still feels surprisingly modern. And now the tech will feel a little bit more modern as well. Right, I also really want to stress that feedback part, right? Because again, my understanding is that this is the beginning, right, of like effectively, like if there's things that we as a community have feedback on, we can post it and all of you will read it and stuff, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's something I think is particularly exciting for us on 2 weeks is because my favorite time working on the original Guild Wars was after we shipped and it got in players' hands and we were able to, get feedback from folks and continue to make improvements. And so I'm really happy that we're, that this is sort of, this is a big milestone, obviously, is getting this thing released and out to the world, but that we're still around and able to support it and hungry for feedback is, I'm really excited about this new phase that we're going to get into soon.
Awesome. I'm just looking at some more questions that I'm getting. I'm also curious. You mentioned these like I guess like player modifications earlier. Is there any updates on that? Is that all gonna break once Reforged comes out, or do you think it won't be? Like, so
I don't know for sure. We have a good relationship with the guys that make Toolbox, and we've broken them before. So we try to give them like a build of the live system a little bit ahead. We can, it's hard the way our systems work to do more than a day, but that makes a big difference to them. But also, as Brandon and his team reworked the UI, they changed a bunch of stuff, and we did actually ship that without all the other bits. So, and that broke Toolbox for 2 or 3 days. So, and then there's just a lot of third-party add-ons. When I was, had to debug things, one of the players was helping me, and he sent me a screenshot of his game, and it's just surrounded by stuff with details. He's doing the Domain of Anguish, and he's got all these helper things. And our philosophy is that's okay. Like, if the game client knows it, you can know it. And if we don't want you to know it, we shouldn't send it to the game client. And so, as long as you're not cheating, you're not botting, automating things, go for it. Have fun with it. And so I think other than the UI, which, I think we already pre-broke some time ago, I think it'll be okay for most people.
I think part of it is that, like, as far as I am sensing, again, you're upgrading the game, you're working on the game again, but again, you're trying to be very, I guess, like, respectful of the existing Guild Wars 1 player base, right? Because there's still people, they've been playing for 20 years, right? They love this game, and it's like their thing. So again, I think it's all about upgrading the experience, modernizing it. Well, at the same time, again, there's going to be lots of new players, probably returning players, Guild Wars 2 players checking it out for the first time, MMO players that have never played Guild Wars 1 that are hearing about the Reforged and are excited to give it a shot. But y'all are not forgetting about those existing 20-year veterans that are still, so excited to be playing Guild Wars 1 every day.
Yeah, we just don't want to break the game that we have. A lot of engineering and design and art and the art style. It's a very special game, and we're going to treat it with the respect that it deserves.
Awesome. Oh, I'm super happy about all of that stuff, and I'm just excited that people are working on the game again. Is there any like major topic that we have missed? I still have some fun questions that I'm excited to ask you, but I'm just thinking. Oh, right. So we mentioned that Eye of the North is going to be DLC now, right? What's the price of Eye of the North going to be? I'm curious.
I forgot. I actually don't know. Less than it is now, and we're going to reprice all the MTX items.
MTX is also getting repriced.
Yeah. Our sales guy did a very extensive study. I don't know how to say this well, but to figure out the lowest price we could sell them out that wouldn't shoot ourselves in the foot. So,
we like hearing that for sure.
Yeah, we have to make money, but some of the overall pricing had drifted over the years. It didn't make sense anymore, and so we have looked at everything, and so there'll be some changes there. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think. Again, all of us in the Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2 community, I think everybody just wants this to be a success, right? We're just all hoping that this will be, again, a bold new chapter in Guild Wars 1's life. Just thank you all so much. I do have some fun questions, maybe not as much about the detail, but just stuff that I'm personally curious about, because I don't get the opportunity to talk with some amazing developers like this every single day. I'm curious, do any of you have any favorite development memories? Maybe from the old days or maybe from the new days. That still feels weird saying that, the new days, people working on Guild Wars 1. Do you have any favorite things that spring to mind? Favorite fun stories?
I mean, I really loved shipping Eye of the North. It's the first time I'd shipped a live game. And, the atmosphere in the offices when we released Eye of the North was like, this is the first time I'd been around like, okay, the servers are going live and then people are going to be immediately start playing. I'd been used to, box product going out and you hear about it sometime later. But feedback was, immediate and instant, and seeing all of the players jump into the game for the first time was something I'll never forget. Again, I spoke about that connection that we have to the players earlier, but having it be so immediate and present of a connection when the game went live really spoke to me. And I've wanted to work on multiplayer games ever since, and games like Guild Wars ever since. And it is, coming back to it and remembering that and thinking about how special it is in this day and age when you've got, games, service-based games that are getting canceled and servers that are getting sunset and going dark. The commitment that ArenaNet has to Guild Wars 1 and continuing to make it a good experience to players. The fact that Stephen had been working on this game kind of behind the scenes, it's not always a glamorous job making sure that, oh, now the monitors have changed completely. Let me get this working again. What happens to a game when it's wider screen? What happens to a game when the resolution's increased? This game is 20 years old and it still works like a dream, which is amazing to me. Again, in this day when a lot of stuff is kind of going away and games that people love and care about disappear, I've been a part of that experience too. I hated it. It was one of the worst experiences for me as a developer to have a live game, have servers sunset, and now this thing that some people really loved go away. To have this experience around still is really special. When we got in and started playing it again in preparation to get working on it, I was very emotional about it. It was really something special to kind of come back to it. The feelings of nostalgia were really strong. And then I also remember not too long after Eye of the North released, and some of the skills that I worked on were radically overpowered, and it's all people would play, and it was like the whole meta for a period of time before Izzy went back and fixed stuff. I remember that. I remember being a little bit embarrassed about that.
Wow. I guess just in general, right? Like you said, the Guild Wars 1 still runs like a dream, but 2 weeks from now, it's gonna work much better even again on modern systems, right? So again, the issues that there were are hopefully going to be a lot better with the game running better on modern systems and stuff like that. Another question I'm seeing a lot in the chat, and I think we've already talked about this, but this is the existing servers, right? This is not a reset. You're not splitting the player base into two different...
We don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Yep. Play together anytime you want. I mean, we've had 100% uptime for over 6 years now, including making these changes. And overall, over to 20 years, 32 hours of downtime, which Brandon is
that's... Wasn't there some milestone that there was zero downtime for like 5 years or something like that? Wasn't that a thing?
Yeah, it's been 6 years.
6 years.
Coming up on 7 now, and that's all again back to the amazing engineering and foresight that the founders put into how the game is structured. Basically invented microservices, but we didn't call them that. I remember going to a conference and going, "Oh, that's what you call what we do. That's good to know." And that was, I don't know, when was that? 2010 or something. So yeah, it's just extraordinary, and it's really easy for us to scale the game up and down, so I'm not worried about new players coming in and breaking anything. I did break a thing, I recall, when you did your live stream where the file servers were overloaded, so I learned my lesson.
I remember.
Yeah.
The 20th anniversary was such a highlight. So many people were playing again, and I was hosting my event, but just the anniversary itself was so much bigger than just that, right? Like people were returning for the new prefixes and stuff like that. It was just amazing seeing everybody play the game again, and I'm so excited because I think this is going to be much bigger, right? I feel like it's really again, like sort of re-energized so many people, made people think about Guild Wars 1 again. Yeah, I'm just excited to get in there 2 weeks from now, together with all these players. Again, a more modern experience, and I think we're all also excited about the future.
Yeah,
of
if
this
you've
game.
been away for 10 years, I advise our wiki. It's one of the most beautiful game wikis out there. And there were a lot of changes over 10 years, done subtly and surely. And including, all the weapon upgrades at the 10th, 15th, and 20th anniversaries that would be exciting to go back and explore if you're an older player. Also learned yesterday that we had to double the size of our database servers for the wiki because of the increase in interest. That was amazing.
Oh, really?
Yes. Wow. Wow. That's a real sign that you impacted people.
I think there's already a lot of people that are already kind of getting back to Guild Wars 1 right now. But again, this first update for Guild Wars Reforged is going live 2 weeks from now, right? I believe that is, let me make sure I get the date right. I believe that's December 3rd?
Yep.
Awesome. And which campaign are y'all going to play first? Are y'all going to jump in? Are y'all going to play as well?
I've been playing a lot of Prophecies. I might mix it up. I might hit Nightfall up, but I have been playing a lot of Prophecies.
This is something that I need to go back and forth on because, I think, especially if you're a new player, like jumping in on Prophecies is probably the right way to start to see where it all begins. But Nightfall is, I think, really where we hit our stride as like really understanding, the game on a deep level and how to make really great content for it and that kind of stuff. And so it's also an excellent entry point. And I think it's really cool that like all three of the campaigns you can start independently. And like back in the day, you could buy them independently. Like you didn't need Prophecies in order to get Factions or Nightfall. And so there's no wrong way to jump in there, but I would say if you're a new player, probably Prophecies. But check them all out actually.
For sure, right? Because all three are going to be in Reforged, and if you only own one of the three, you will get all three once Reforged hits. Right, I think that pretty much brings us to the conclusion of this live stream. Thank you all so much for joining me and answering questions. And yeah, it was an absolute joy having you. I'm so excited that all of you are working on Guild Wars 1 again. I'm so excited to jump in. Just a recap for all the viewers, maybe you jumped in later. 2 weeks from now, Guild Wars Reforged is coming out with a bunch of modernization upgrades for the game. It is not a remaster or full remake, but there are some really nice improvements coming to modernize the game, including visual upgrades, UI upgrades, better scaling on high-resolution monitors, controller support, Steam Deck verification. Are you all going to play on your Steam Deck? I'm going to play on my Steam Deck.
I play on my Steam Deck all the time.
I think it's going to be... I got to say, like, as a Guild Wars 2 player, I'm pretty jealous of this controller support thing all of you are doing. Like, if you ever need another project, then just saying. But yeah, we're all very, very excited about it. Thank you so much for coming on the stream. Again, this is a free upgrade if you own any of the free campaigns. And if you have never played Guild Wars 1 before, there has never been a better time to jump in. There will be a new low bundled price for Prophecies, Factions, and Nightfall going live. If you want to, you can check out my content. I mostly do Guild Wars 2 stuff, but I'm of course going to be covering Reforged as well. Very, very excited. Also, make sure you follow like all the official Guild Wars channels. I believe there's now also a newsletter people can sign up for Reforged as well. I believe that if you're signed up for the Guild Wars 2 newsletter, you may also want to sign up for the Reforged newsletter. There's like a preference you can set for that. And yeah, again, I think the devs here would absolutely love to hear your feedback and thoughts. Again, it's very much... They're very respectful of the Guild Wars community, as far as I can tell, and they really want to hear what you think. So if you have any feedback and thoughts, make sure to share it. Thank you so much to the developers for working on this and coming on the show today. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much to all the awesome Guild Wars community members that came out to watch today, and I hope to see you all in Guild Wars 1 2 weeks from now. I'm so excited. Thank you so much, everybody, and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.